At the hearing before Congress, Tony Hayward was evasive about the recklessness of how BP does business. BP violations greatly outnumber those of other oil companies. Why did you continue to violate rules again and again that led to this disaster?
Well, if you look at the number of violations, this really starts to result as a tragic accident that BP had about 5 years ago in a place called Texas City, a refinery. And that has led to a number of violations, a large number of violations. And
so you're saying that the Texas City refinery led to charges for retroactive offenses?
Well, no, it was violations around, and it took a number of years to go through that Texas City process, and there were particularly a number of large violations around that one incident. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that incident, it shook the company up. There was a new management in the company who put in place the drive in the company about safe and reliable operations. Became the way we started every meeting. That was the way we sat down and planned every project. This was just sort of getting itself deeply ingrained in the company, and that's what's so tragic about what's happened now. Given the size of BP, which is the largest oil and gas producer in the U.S., there are other projects that you'll read about and hear about. There is no way that I believe that there's a systematic lack of emphasis and attention to safe and reliable operations for our people and equipment. That's why it's particularly difficult to watch what's happened on this accident. But in terms of attention and lack of attention to safety, it's just not our culture. It was very, very strongly built into what we do in the management systems of the company.
Yet there's been pretty intense criticism of the way the company has handled itself in its dealings with the public, the tone, the messaging, the way it was explaining what it was doing, even whether or not your boss was participating in a yachting competition while people were watching that famous widget online with endless amounts of oil and gas pouring out of the floor of the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, I think our image, regardless of whether there's some statements been made that have created an image, until we shut the well off and we stop the oil leak and we get well into cleaning and clean up the beaches, I think, I know that BP's reputation is just going to be scrutinized terribly, as it should be. One of the reasons for setting up this Gulf Coast Restoration Organization is to try to send the signal to the country and the governors and the administration that, hey, we're here for the long term. There's no one going to cut and run in terms of BP containing its liabilities. It's pouring resources and people into this. I hope, Ray, down the road there is a story to be told about, actually, it's a terrible, terrible accident that happened, and I do believe it could have happened to I would say any company, but companies in the oil and gas industry. But that people say, well, actually they did step up right away. They didn't try to hide behind the laws. They did set up the claims programs within weeks. That it'll be regarded as quite an unusual corporate response. I know it doesn't feel that way now, but I absolutely believe that this is somewhat of an unprecedented corporate response. Nobody wants to hear that now, but I hope someday that people will see that. If this had happened to a company with less resources, I don't know where this would have gone.
In this big complex of buildings that we're sitting in, I'm bound to guess that there are whole departments that sit and pore over regulations, that file voluminous permitting documents and do negotiations for exploration sites and extraction sites. Are you anticipating, are you expecting, and already factoring it into the cost of doing business, that you're just going to get extra scrutiny for a while?
I think that's right, and I think that's not an unreasonable thing to expect. And I think what we need to do as a company is absolutely go back again and again and again and review our safety processes, our management processes, to make sure that we are, in fact, judged to a higher standard, and I expect that.